Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another narrated Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. Today's battle is a never-used match against an opponent by the name of Tato2772, and in this battle I'm using the same NU team that I used in my previous NU match, which is still a ton of fun to use and just fun to show off some of the underused Pokemon in the NU tier. Mainly Chimecho and Unfezant, which are two Pokemon I'm just enjoying using a lot, especially since Chimecho, I believe, is the only Psychic-type NU Pokemon that gets Levitate other than Unknown, and it makes a very good special wall, so it's really fun to use, and I just like having the ability to Wish Pass things and also be immune to Ground-type moves. And obviously Unfezant being a physically defensive Stall Breaker is just a fun way to use this Pokemon since you don't see it too often. But as far as my opponent's team is concerned, he actually brought a ton of threats to this battle. Shelgon always worries me because those things are very bulky, and if they set up a few Dragon Dances, you can lose pretty much your entire team. Luckily, though, I have Bastiodon for that, which could obviously take an Outrage and roar it out. But he also brought a Combuskin, which is very threatening in itself as well because of Speed Boost, and a Ursaring, which could also dish out a massive amount of physical damage, especially if it's the Guts kind. This is actually the Quick Feet kind, which you find out very early in the battle. And he also has a very solid defensive core between Probopass, Weezing, and Hypno. So overall, my opponent brought a very good team, so we're going to see how I handle it, and just jump into this battle right now. So to start things off, I lead off with my Raichu, as my opponent leads off with his Probopass. Now from a team preview, I saw that he did not have any electric immune Pokemon, so I figured that this would be the best thing to lead off with, and just go for a Volt Switch on the first turn, maybe if I got a favorable matchup. Unfortunately though, he leads off with his Probopass, so he's obviously just going to set up a Stealth Rocks, but it gives me the perfect opportunity to switch out into my Basculin, which is going to obviously threaten this Probopass out due to the fact that it is weak to my Water-type moves, being a Rock-type. So I just go for the Waterfall. This is my Mystic Water Adaptability Waterfall Basculin, and that does a solid 35% to this Weezing, which I was actually very surprised about, and that's really good information for later. But knowing that he's either going to go for a Thunderbolt or a Will-O-Wisp, I just switch out into my Bastiodon right here, because I really don't care if this thing gets burned. It's not really meant to be a physical attacker. The only thing that is a little bit of a bummer is that I do lose my Sturdy right here, but this does give me the perfect opportunity to now set up my Stealth Rock, which is going to be very useful for obviously residual damage for the remainder of the battle. However, he goes out into his Ursaring right here, knowing that he has a very safe switch. Obviously, with me being burned, I can't really do too much damage to it, and he's going to easily get up his Toxic Orb and threaten me with a close combat. Now, I did not want anything else on my team to take that or switch into it, so I just had to let my Bastiodon die there. Unfortunately, that means I won't have it for the remainder of the battle, especially against the Shelgon, which is something that I mentioned before was something I was worried about. But I do have my Unfezant right here. I know he's at +2 right now. He's only Toxic Orb boosted, so I can live whatever hit he wants to go for, especially a Facade, which obviously is Ursaring's strongest move with a Toxic, or with the Quick Feet active. But either way, he switches out into his Probopass right here, knowing that that would probably be the easiest thing to switch out into, knowing that he could take whatever hit from Unfezant very easily because of its dual resistance to normal-type moves and flying-type moves. But knowing that he's probably either going to go for the Volt Switch or the Thunder Wave, I just decide to go for, or actually even a Power Gem for that matter, I just decide to go for a Roost to take minimal damage from that and get off a little bit of HP as he Volt Switches out into his Weezing. Now knowing his Weezing is probably going to want to go for the Will-O-Wisp right here, I just taunt him, so now he no longer can do that, and I'm pretty much free to stay in here and just go for a return. I thought this would actually do a pretty decent chunk. As you can see, it does maybe like 25%, but he goes for a Sludge Bomb here, and this actually does a lot more damage than I was expecting. Luckily for me, he doesn't have the Thunderbolt, which means he probably either has Clear Smog or Fire Blast, but either way I have to switch out right now because I don't want this Unfezant taking any more damage and potentially getting poisoned by Sludge Bomb. So I switch out into my Chimecho right here to take the Sludge Bomb very well, obviously being a special wall. I could also Wish Protect on this thing and also threaten it out with Extra Sensory. His taunt wears off right here, but I knew he wasn't going to Will-O-Wisp, so I just assumed he was going to switch out, as I just go for the Wish to try and get some HP back up in case he did want to stay in. But as he brings in this Hypno right here, and I know Hypnos, when they're defensive, usually can't do much about Pokemon that use Toxic unless they do have Heal Bell. I believe Hypno can learn Heal Bell, but typically Hypnos pack Thunder Wave over Toxic. So as we exchange statuses right here, I actually win out in the end, because I have the status that's going to be doing residual damage to him over the course of time. Even though we both are Wish Protect users, I'm going to win out in the end, which is really great for me because of the fact that I can actually stall out this Hypno, even though neither of us are really going to get anywhere in a one-on-one matchup aside from obviously the Toxic damage. All he has to hit me is Seismic Toss, and all I have to hit him is Extra Sensory. And I did think about for a little bit, or debate, trying to Wish Pass off into my Unfezant at some point in here, but because he has Seismic Toss and because I was actually a very low range of health with my Unfezant, I knew I couldn't live a Seismic Toss against this Hypno. However, he makes a very interesting play here and goes out into his Weezing, which I'm not exactly sure why, because I obviously threatened this out before, seeing as I have a Psychic move, and I just go for the extra sensory right here. Unfortunately, though, I get paralyzed right there, so then I go for another Wish, I believe. Actually, no. I decided to just kill it outright. I figured trying to Wish and get rid of it would just take too long in case he wanted to do something else, so I just go for the extra sensory and easily take out this Weezing, which is now a very good thing because that means if I want to bring in my Basculin later, he really doesn't have too much to handle it. But he brings out his Ursaring right here, and my opponent actually makes a very, very bad play on the following turn, going for the Crunch, and as many of you know, a Facade with a status on a Ursaring will do more damage than a super effective Crunch. Facade being 210 base power with the stab taken into account, Crunch only being 160 base power. So I'm actually able to surprisingly live that, which I didn't think I was going to even do remotely because of Chimecho being typically a special wall. I just kind of went for Protect a few times there to potentially get up some more toxic damage. Unfortunately, though, I do not. I get paralyzed both those times, and then I bring in my Raichu right here, thinking I could KO with the Volt Switch. Unfortunately, I do not, so I have to switch out into something, and obviously the weakest thing on my team at this point is my Unfezant, so this is going to have to go down. But luckily for me, at least, even though my Unfezant goes down and my Chimecho went down on the following two turns, or on the previous two turns, I do take out this Ursaring, which was a huge threat to pretty much everything on this team. Now, he does go into his Hypno right here, and I have obviously a very strong physical move, and Hypnos are typically special. So he goes for Protect right here, and I was very curious as to why he did that, because he is toxic. But now I realized after he did that, he's probably seeing what I lock myself into, because almost every Basculin is banded. So knowing he's now going to switch out into one thing on his team that he has to resist and water move, I go for the Ice Beam, which is expert belted. It's super effective against the Shelgon, and because of the fact, or sorry, it's not expert belted, it's just Mystic Water, forget I said that. But because Shelgon is typically a physically defensive Pokemon, that is a solid 2-hit KO, which is absolutely huge because that Pokemon, which I thought was going to be a huge threat against my team, is now taken down, and I'm able to actually now just pretty much do whatever I feel like with this Basculin. He goes into his Combuskin, and this thing shows how frail it is right here, because I actually take it out with an Aqua Jet, which I was not expecting even remotely. I know it's super effective, but it's an Aqua Jet, and I didn't think that could kill anything. But either way, Probobast comes in here now, and not sure if the Waterfall would KO it. I just went for Superpower just to show off that I had Superpower, more or less, just to kind of show the full moveset. But now knowing that I potentially don't have enough power to KO this Hypno, I decided to just switch out into my Throw. It's the only thing on my team that I have not used yet in this battle, so I figured why not bring it in to do the final KO. So he goes for a Wish right here, but it doesn't really matter. He's going to die eventually to Poison. He can't kill me, especially because of the fact that I have 427 HP, and I do have Substitute. So if I were to Substitute, he wouldn't be able to break my subs. He just goes for the Thunder Wave, maybe getting Paralysis Hacks, but it does activate my Guts, obviously. And I just go for the Payback to take it out and give me the victory in this battle. So overall, it just kind of showed you how easy it was to finally set up, or not set up, but just sweep with one Pokemon once I actually took out the biggest threat on my opponent's team to that Pokemon, which I guess was the Weezing, but also the Shelgon in a sense. So after I took those two Pokemon out, which were the only two physical walls on this team, I was pretty much able to just wreck with Basculin, and that's something I think you should all strive to team build for, trying to build it around the fact that if you can take out one Pokemon on your opponent's team that threatens one of your sweepers, you could just bring in that Pokemon in whenever you want to and just spam your strongest attack, and it will eventually take things down very quickly. And that's a lot of the strategy that goes into a lot of team building that I do, at least, thinking about, oh, if this Pokemon goes down, then, you know, I could just sweep with this guy because it's very strong from a physical standpoint, or this other guy, which is very strong from a special attacking standpoint. So yeah, that was it for this battle, everyone. This is the only two battles I have with this team, so I hope you enjoyed me using it for the time being. But thank you all for watching as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.